I remember the exact moment doubt crept into my mind. Emily stood in our kitchen, glowing with excitement as she waved the positive pregnancy test in front of me. "We're having a baby, Nathan," she beamed, her green eyes glistening with happy tears. I smiled, hugged her, told her I loved her. But somewhere deep inside me, a voice whispered, "Something's off." We had been struggling for months. Late-night arguments that ended in cold silence, her sudden secrecy with her phone, the strange weekend work trips that were never part of her routine before. And now, just like that, we were expecting? I wanted to believe this was the fresh start we needed, that this baby would bring us closer. But my gut told me something else. The first time I mentioned a DNA test, she laughed it off. "Nathan, that's ridiculous," she said, her voice laced with disappointment. "Do you really not trust me?" When I didn't drop it, her response changed. She got defensive, accusatory. "So what, you think I'm some kind of cheater? You think I'd have someone else's baby?" she snapped. "Unbelievable, Nathan. You've been looking for a reason to fight with me, haven't you?" It worked. I backed off. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I was just letting my insecurities get the best of me. But that whisper in my mind never truly went away. And then, everything changed. It happened on a Tuesday. I was home early from work, cleaning up the living room, when I spotted an envelope tucked under a pile of unopened mail. It was from St. Augustine Medical Center, a hospital bill. I almost tossed it into the junk pile, assuming it was a routine pregnancy checkup. But when I saw what it was for, my heart nearly stopped. Prenatal paternity test, $2,500. My hands shook as I read those words over and over. I hadn't authorized this. She hadn't tested the baby against me. So the question was, who the hell was she testing it against? I sat in my truck outside Ryan's house, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. The hospital bill sat on the passenger seat, the words prenatal paternity test burning a hole in my brain. I had spent the entire drive overthinking of ways to explain it, ways it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe the hospital made a mistake. Maybe Emily had some medical concern she hadn't told me about. But deep down, I knew better. Ryan greeted me at the door with a beer in hand, already reading the frustration on my face. "What's up, man?" he asked, stepping aside to let me in. I handed him the bill without saying a word. He scanned it quickly, his brow furrowing. "Okay, I assume you didn't ask for this." I let out a bitter laugh. "No, Ryan, I didn't." He exhaled through his nose, tossing the paper onto the coffee table before dropping onto the couch. "Dude, you've been on edge about Emily for months. Now you think she got a paternity test behind your back?
Small man.
You really think she's cheating on you?" I ran a hand through my hair, pacing the room. "I don't think it, Ryan. I know something's going on. She shuts down every time I bring up the baby. She's constantly glued to her phone. And now this." I pointed at the bill. "Who the hell is she testing against?" Ryan sighed, rubbing his temples. "Look, I get it. But you've been married how long? 8 years? And she's never given you a reason not to trust her before." "Yeah. But things have been off for months. You've seen it too. Don't pretend you haven't." Ryan hesitated. "She has been acting different." He took a swig of beer, then shook his head. "But if she was cheating, wouldn't she be trying to keep the baby a secret? Not testing to make sure it's someone else's?" I hadn't considered that. My mind had been so focused on who she was testing against, I hadn't stopped to ask why. "You think I should just let it go?" I muttered, staring at the floor. "I think you should talk to her," Ryan said, "before you go tearing your marriage apart over a piece of paper." Maybe he was right. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe there was an explanation that made sense. But my gut told me otherwise. And my gut had never been wrong before. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Emily slept soundly beside me. The glow of her phone screen flickered on the nightstand, lighting up her face in brief flashes. She had been acting normal all evening, almost too normal. Asking about my day, making small talk about the nursery, even cuddling up next to me on the couch like she used to. But I wasn't buying it. The phone buzzed again. I glanced at the screen. A text. I swallowed hard. I had never gone through her phone before. Never needed to. But as I lay there, staring at the device that held the answers to every question rattling around in my brain, I knew I couldn't let this go. I reached for it slowly, careful not to wake her. My pulse pounded as I entered the passcode. Our anniversary. She hadn't changed it. The messages were right there. I scrolled past the usual ones. Text to her sister, group chats with friends, until I saw a thread that made my stomach drop. Boss. I tapped it. Boss. We need to be careful with this situation. If he finds out before everything is finalized, it could get messy. Emily, I know. I'm doing everything I can to keep it quiet. He hasn't suspected a thing yet. Boss, good. The last thing we need is him making things difficult before the divorce. My entire body went numb. Divorce? I had no idea she was even thinking about divorce. I kept reading, my hands shaking. Emily, once the papers are in, he won't have a choice. I just need to keep him from figuring anything out before then. I set the phone down, my mind spinning. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was plotting against me. And I had no idea how deep it went. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the past year in my head. The sudden distance, the excuses, the way she shut down every conversation about our future. And now, the messages, proof that she was keeping something from me. Proof that she was planning to blindside me with divorce papers. I could have confronted her right then, shaken her awake and demanded the truth. But that would have been exactly what she expected me to do. No, I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. I needed the full picture before I made my move. I needed to know who else was involved, how long this had been going on, what she was hiding, and most of all, who she was protecting. That's why, the next morning, I called Greg Lawson. Greg was a private investigator. Former cop, former military, the kind of guy who found answers before people even knew they were asking questions. I met him years ago through work, back when my firm was dealing with corporate fraud. He wasn't cheap, but he was damn good. When I explained my situation, Greg didn't ask pointless questions. He didn't waste time trying to soften the blow. How far do you want to go with this? He asked. All the way, I said. Find everything. Every transaction. Every phone call. Every place she's been in the last year that she doesn't want me to know about. There was a pause. This is gonna get ugly, Greg warned. Good, I muttered. I hope it does. The first red flag came 2 days later. Greg called me while I was at work. His voice laced with something between amusement and concern. You were right, he said. She's hiding something big. I gripped the phone tighter. What did you find? She's been making large cash withdrawals, thousands of dollars at a time. Always in odd amounts, nothing even or round. Why? Greg sighed. Hard to say yet. But people don't pull that kind of cash unless they don't want a paper trail. Could be hush money. Could be bribes. Could be payments for something else. I rubbed my temples. My mind was racing. Emily handled most of our finances, but we never kept secrets about money. Or so I thought. What else? I asked. There was another pause. Greg hesitated. And that's when I knew. I felt it in my gut before he even said it. Nathan. She's been meeting with Ryan. My chest tightened. Ryan. My best friend. The guy who told me to let it go. The guy who tried to convince me I was overreacting. When? I asked, forcing my voice to stay steady. Multiple times over the past few months. Always private locations. Coffee shops. Parking lots. No restaurants, no public places where they might be seen together. My blood ran cold. I had trusted Ryan with everything. He had been the one person I confided in, the one I turned to when I needed a clear head. And now he was part of this. I need to know exactly what they're talking about, I said, my voice deadly calm. Greg sighed again. That's trickier. Conversations in public places are hard to get without raising suspicion. But if she's planning something, there will be a record. A burner phone, hidden accounts. Something. I clenched my jaw. I don't care how you do it, I said. Find me the proof. That night, I went home to Emily acting completely normal. She kissed me when I walked through the door, asked about my day, made small talk about baby names as if nothing had changed. I played along. I smiled when I had to. I laughed when it was expected. Because I wasn't ready to strike yet. Not until I had everything. But one thing was clear now. This wasn't just about an affair. This was about war. And I was going to win. The courtroom smelled like old wood and desperation. I sat at the plaintiff's table, my hands folded in front of me, listening to Emily's lawyer paint me as an unfit father. Mr. Carter has displayed erratic behavior, the woman droned on, flipping through a stack of papers. He has been controlling, paranoid, and emotionally unstable throughout the pregnancy. My client has reason to believe that staying in this marriage would put both her and the child at risk. I let out a slow breath, keeping my expression unreadable. Emily sat across from me, her posture perfect, her face the picture of calm distress. She played her role well, the devoted, heartbroken wife forced to escape her husband's paranoia. It was a performance, a damn good one, but she had no idea what was coming. Beside me, my lawyer, Dan Holloway, remained impassive. He had been working on high-stakes divorces for over a decade, and nothing rattled him. He let Emily's lawyer continue, waiting for the right moment to strike. Emily dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, sighing shakily for effect. "I never wanted this," she murmured. "I just wanted a safe, loving home for my child." The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes, turned to me. "Mr. Carter, do you have anything to say before we move forward with custody arrangements?" Dan cleared his throat. "Your Honor," he said smoothly, standing up, "before we proceed any further, we have some new evidence to present." Emily's lawyer frowned. "What evidence?" Dan didn't answer. Instead, he slid a manila folder onto the judge's bench. "Inside that folder, Your Honor, is a document that my client only recently obtained, a paternity test. One that Ms. Carter conducted without his knowledge." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Emily's mask slipped for the first time. Her lips parted slightly, her hands tightening on the table. "Objection!" her lawyer snapped. "This is completely irrelevant. Mr. Carter has already acknowledged." The judge held up a hand. "I'll decide what's relevant." She opened the folder, eyes scanning the document inside. I watched Emily. She wasn't crying now. She wasn't playing the victim anymore. She just sat there, frozen, her face drained of color. The judge took a deep breath, then read the results aloud. "The probability of paternity is 0%. The room went silent. I could hear the faint hum of traffic outside, the sound of someone shifting uncomfortably in their seat. Emily's lawyer dropped her pen. I saw one of the court clerks physically cover his mouth to stop from reacting. Then Emily moved. She shook her head rapidly, her hands trembling. That's not possible." Dan turned to her, his expression unreadable. "Not possible?" he echoed. "Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Carter, but you ordered this test yourself." Emily's mouth opened, but no words came out. My heartbeat was steady, controlled. I had waited for this moment. "Ms. Carter," the judge said, voice sharper now, "is this test accurate?" Emily looked to her lawyer, then to me, and for the first time in this entire nightmare, she had nothing to say. The silence stretched so long it became unbearable. The judge tapped the paternity test with a manicured nail. "Ms. Carter," she said, her voice cold, "I'm giving you one chance to explain yourself. If Mr. Carter is not the father of this child, then who is?" Emily's mouth opened, but nothing came out. She was trapped. Her lawyer leaned in, whispering furiously in her ear, but Emily just sat there, frozen. Dan, my lawyer, leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms. "Take your time, Miss Carter," he said casually. "We've got all day." I turned my head slowly, not to Emily but to Ryan. His face was unreadable, but I saw it. The shift in his eyes, the barely noticeable tightening of his jaw. Guilt. It was all I needed to see. My hands curled into fists beneath the table. Emily doesn't need to say it, I said, my voice eerily calm. Because I already know. Emily flinched. Ryan swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing. Come on, Ryan, I said, my tone like a knife. You want to say something? Or do I have to do it for you? He didn't move, didn't breathe. Emily's shoulders shook, and then she broke. Tears spilled down her face as she turned to me, her voice cracking. Nathan, please. Say it. It was just, she gasped, pressing her hands to her face. It was just one mistake. My world stopped. My best friend. My brother in all but blood. And my wife. I forced myself to exhale. Forced myself to stay seated when every part of me screamed to get up and wreck the man sitting across from me. One mistake. My voice came out dead. How long? Emily sobbed into her hands. Ryan, still silent, refused to look at me. How long? I repeated, my voice sharp enough to cut through her crying. Emily's lips trembled. A year, she whispered. I felt my stomach lurch, but I didn't react. A year. 365 days of lying. Of looking me in the eye. Of sitting in my home, drinking my beer, patting me on the back. Pretending. The betrayal hit like a freight train, but I forced my breathing to stay even. I turned back to Ryan. Say something. He finally met my eyes, but his face twisted in shame. Nathan, man, I laughed. A short, bitter sound that even I barely recognized. I didn't even hear the rest of his sentence, because I was already planning my next move. Ryan was still talking, still spewing the same worthless garbage about how it didn't mean anything, how he never meant to hurt me. I didn't hear a word, because in that moment, I wasn't looking at him as my best friend. I wasn't even looking at him as a person. I was looking at a man who had taken everything from me. My marriage, my trust, my future. And now he had the nerve to sit there and ask for forgiveness?
Nathan, man,
I stood up, chair scraping, knuckles tight, breath slow and even. Ryan shut up real fast. I leaned forward, resting both hands on the table between us, and looked him in the eye. You are nothing to me, I said, my voice calm. Not a friend, not a man, not even a mistake I regret. His face twisted, but I wasn't finished. I let you in my home. I trusted you with my life. And you repaid me by stealing my wife and lying to my face for a year. I exhaled slowly. You don't deserve to sit here and beg for anything. Ryan swallowed hard, his face pale. I turned my attention to Emily. She looked ruined. The confident, manipulative woman who had been so sure she'd walk out of this courtroom with everything. She was gone. In her place was someone small, someone vulnerable, someone desperate. Nathan, she started, reaching out across the table like I'd actually take her hand. Please. I didn't move. I messed up, she whispered. But I love you.
I swear. I do.
I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I gave her the same dead-eyed stare I'd given Ryan. You love me, I echoed. Emily, you've been lying to me for over a year. You let me plan for a child that wasn't mine. You stole time from my life that I can never get back. And now, after all of it, you want me to just pretend nothing happened. Emily choked back another sob. I don't want to lose you, she whispered. You lost me the second you let another man touch you, I said coldly. She flinched like I had slapped her. But I wasn't done. The judge cleared her throat. I think we've heard enough. She adjusted her glasses, looking between the three of us. Mr. Carter, given the circumstances, I am granting you full legal separation from Ms. Carter. You will pay no alimony. You will have no financial obligation to this child. And should you wish, you are legally entitled to walk away. The words felt like oxygen. A slow, painful release of something that had been suffocating me for months. Emily shattered before my eyes. She gasped, turning to her lawyer, grasping at anything, but there was nothing left. She had lost. And as for Ryan, he didn't even look at me. He just sat there, his entire body tense, his guilt like a weight pressing down on him. But this wasn't over. Not yet. Because I had one more move to make. I walked out of that courtroom a free man. No alimony. No legal ties. No obligations. Emily sat there, completely wrecked, while Ryan stared at the floor, knowing damn well he had just lost everything. But I wasn't finished. Not yet. Because I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to make sure they never forgot what they did to me. The first step was Ryan's job. See, Ryan worked for a company where reputation mattered. A company that prided itself on integrity, loyalty, and trust. So when an anonymous email landed in his boss's inbox, detailing how he had betrayed his best friend of 10 years by secretly sleeping with his pregnant wife for over a year, it didn't go over well, especially when the email came with photo evidence. I had Greg, my private investigator, dig through everything. Every meeting, every transaction, every piece of dirt that could make Ryan's life a living hell. He was fired within a week. Apparently, sleeping with a married woman and destroying a family didn't align with the company's values. Shame. Then came Emily, the woman who thought she could lie, manipulate, and walk away with everything. I made sure she walked away with nothing. First, I let our entire social circle know the truth. It started with a simple post. Just a few sentences. No emotion. No rants. Just cold, hard facts. To those who have been asking, Emily and I are no longer together. She was pregnant, but a paternity test confirmed the baby was not mine. She had been having an affair with my best friend, Ryan, for over a year. I have legally removed myself from the situation and will be moving on with my life. Thank you to those who have supported me. And then, I let the internet do its thing. The group chats exploded. People picked sides. Some tried to defend her until the court transcripts leaked. The same ones that proved she had lied to me. The same ones that revealed her pathetic attempts to paint me as an unfit husband to get custody of a child that wasn't even mine. Suddenly, all those friends she thought would rally around her, they disappeared. Her phone calls went unanswered. Her social invitations? Gone. She was ostracized. No job. No support. No safety net. The woman who once thought she had it all, had nothing. As for me, I moved forward. Stronger. Smarter. Wiser. I refused to let their betrayal define me. I built a new life. A better one. One where no one could ever play me again. And when I thought of Emily and Ryan, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel sadness. I just felt nothing. Because they were nothing. And they always would be. 2 years. 730 days since I walked out of that courtroom and left everything behind. Felt like another lifetime. A different man's life. A different man's pain. But I wasn't that man anymore. I had built something better. Stronger. And as for Emily and Ryan, let's just say karma didn't forget them. I heard about Ryan first. It was bound to happen. Small towns have a way of spreading secrets, and once word got out about what he did to me, his reputation was in ruins. Turns out no one trusts a liar. After losing his job, he bounced around from company to company, never lasting more than a few months. No employer wanted to keep a guy whose name was synonymous with betrayal. The last I heard, he moved out of state. New city, new start. But a new zip code doesn't erase who you are. And no matter where he goes, Ryan will always be the man who stabbed his best friend in the back. A snake. And sooner or later, snakes get stepped on. Then there was Emily. I hadn't thought about her in a long time. Not until I ran into a mutual friend at a coffee shop. So, she said, stirring her latte. You ever hear what happened to Emily? I shrugged. Not my problem. She smirked. You might want to hear this. I raised an eyebrow, waiting. She ended up having the baby alone, she said. Ryan was in the picture for a little while, but after everything fell apart, he couldn't handle it. He left. Moved away. Doesn't even send money. I took a sip of my coffee, unsurprised. Ryan was never the type to clean up his own messes. She's struggling, my friend continued. Lost her job. No support. She's been trying to get back into her old friend group. But, well, you know how that goes. I did. No one wanted to be associated with her. No one trusted her. She had burned every bridge, and now she was alone. For the first time since this whole nightmare started, I actually felt pity, but only for a second. She made her choices, and now she was living in them. As for me, I thrived. I left the city, started fresh. I built my own company, surrounded myself with people I could trust. I even started dating again. Turns out, real love doesn't come with secrets, hidden phones, and fake apologies. It comes with honesty, and I'd never settle for anything less again. Because 2 years ago I was played for a fool. But today, I was untouchable.